Hi everybody, it's Spiritual Sunday and I want to welcome you to Talks with DK. Today we're going to talk about prayer and meditation. But before we do, I just wanted to check in with everybody and see how you're doing with keeping your emotions positive and trying to stay in a place of gratitude. I received a lot of great feedback from last week's episode, and I just want you to know that I am grateful to be able to help others on their path. But at this moment in time, I want to share something with you that's personal, and it's relative to last week's episode as well as this week's episode. I'm sharing this because I'm looking for you to understand that although I am a spiritual teacher, that does not exempt me from difficult lessons and growth. This week has been a challenge for me in keeping my emotions positive. I'm going to say this as bluntly as I can. Some people bring out the worst in me. I call it my Sicilian. Or for those of you that watch Yellowstone, it's my inner Beth Dutton. So what did I do with my feelings of anger, disappointment, frustration, and even, yes, self-loathing? Well, I handled them physically at first. I had a good old-fashioned cry. And that in and of itself released a lot of negative energy. After exhausting myself, I went to bed for the night. But before I did my 3 thank yous and I did my 3 prayers in spite of how I was feeling myself. And when I woke up the next morning, I was ready to tackle this spiritual issue on a different level. The first thing I did was I went into meditation and I asked my guides for the lesson I needed to learn to move through this emotional challenge. When I came out of meditation, I used some oracle cards to try to reach my guides and listen to the answer they had for me. I only pulled one card, and it was called the White Tarot card, which relates to sensitivity. Here's the card summary. You are becoming increasingly sensitive. Avoid harsh relationships, environments, situations, and chemicals. I read the rest of the card's meaning, and then what I did was I did some automatic writing, which resulted in 6 pages. And guess what? Not only did I receive the answers that I was seeking regarding the lesson I needed to learn, but I also received a detailed plan of action for moving forward. Prayers are how we communicate with God, our guides, the universe, or whomever. Meditation is time for us to sit back and listen to the response. And I can't stress how important meditation is, as well as listening. Even the Bible speaks of prayer and meditation. Matthew chapter 6, verse 6. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. I'm not sure that I agree about the part with God rewarding you or the promise of prosperity and success, but I can tell you that praying and meditation can keep your vibration higher, and then you can attract those things that you desire in your life. Prayer and meditation can move you up that spiral of evolution much quicker than any negative behavior. Let me explain this a little bit further. During my coaching sessions, I would always tell my clients that God or the universe speaks to you directly. And if you don't pay attention, they speak louder. The analogy or the story that I used to use, actually I still do, is called the feather, the brick, and the house. The first time the universe tries to give you a message, it's like a feather against the cheek. It's very subtle, but you know it's there. If you don't heed that message or warning, then what happens is they send you kind of a brick that hits you right upside the head. Maybe then you'll pay attention? Maybe. And if you ignore that message, then that's when the house comes crumbling down. So I would always stress to my clients, pay attention to the feather and definitely pay attention to the brick, because dealing with the house tumbling down is way more challenging. One way or another, God is going to get you to move in the right direction, whether you've asked for that or not, because it's why we're here, to evolve. Okay, so back to meditation. What I want you to know and understand is that meditation isn't always sitting in a lotus position chanting a mantra, although that's useful if that's your cup of tea. Meditation is simply about quieting the mind. Because if your mind is not quiet, then God or the universe will not find it easy to get a message to you. Back in the day, Dharma would always tell me that my mind was way too active, and that although he would try to communicate to me, he just couldn't get through. So I spent a lot of time meditating back then, because, as I've told you before, practice makes perfect. I have mentioned my favorite psychic, Carey, in other episodes. She recently launched a class which was about improving your intuitive and psychic abilities. But she gave the best presentation on meditation that I've ever heard. She explained that there are many ways to meditate, and you need to find what works for you. She talked about taking a walk or sitting in nature and focusing and observing the beauty around you. She talked about canceling negative thoughts and sending out loving energy to people that have upset you. And that's what I did when I meditated with this recent issue I had. There are all kinds of guided meditations out there. And I think these are good if you're trying to quiet your mind and look within and relax your body. But I don't think if you have a guided meditation going that you're going to be able to really receive answers. So you can do that first and then sit quietly and receive your answers. Kim also talked about using music in your meditation. And you can find music to meditate to everywhere. I find it on Spotify. Kim also mentioned something about using classical music. And if you want to know why, you have to take her class. But I used it for the first time when I was meditating with my issue the other day, and it was extremely powerful. So, if you haven't taken Kim's class yet, you should. It's only $45, and it's not just about meditation. That's just one piece of it. The other part of it is helping you to make contact with your guides or loved ones on the other side and being able to receive information back. Now, Here's a concept that you may have never heard about before, but it's an important one. Dharma taught his students how powerful meditation and visualization and your thoughts can be, especially on a collective level. He told us to take the number of people that were meditating or visualizing on any one particular thing and multiply that number by itself. That is the amount of energy that goes out into the universe to manifest something. Now let me explain this to you in mathematical terms. If 50 people are focusing on the same visualization, take that 50 and multiply it times itself. And the collective energy of those 50 people would be the actual equivalent of 2,500 people visualizing and manifesting the same thing. I remember when he was talking to us many years ago about some of the natural disasters that were going to come to fruition, including New York being underwater. He explained to us that there were more spiritually evolved people on the planet than ever before. And that is even true today. When I compare what I see now to what I saw 30 years ago, we are definitely moving in the right direction. As our collective conscious energy evolves, it creates positive energy that can change things. Our collective energy changed New York sinking. Even if there were only 10,000 people in the United States focused on the same outcome of a situation, the election, if you multiply 10,000 times 10,000, that would be the equivalent energy of 100 million people. How many people are there in our country? So, before I depart, can I ask you all to do something between now and the election? Do I have to spell it all out for you? We got this, people. Let's do this. Next week, we're going to talk about self-love, which Dharma explained to us is at the root of all of our problems in society today. Along with self-love, we're also going to talk about self-empowerment, which goes hand in hand with self-love when it comes to creating a new life for yourself. So until then, be blessed and be safe. And don't forget to vote early. Namaste.